Hello everyone, in this video we'll discuss about DIC. DIC is also known as disseminated intravascular coagulation. Now disseminated word means that the lesion, this abnormality is present all over the body. Then you have intravascular. Intravascular means it is inside the blood vessels. The abnormality which is taking place is inside the blood vessels. And coagulation, that is thrombosis. So as the name suggests that there is some abnormality which is taking place all over the body inside the blood vessels and is a problem of thrombosis. Now let's go to what is the actual problem which takes place in the DIC. So DIC is a acquired disorder. Okay, there is formation of microthrombi. So if you have, this is your blood vessel. So what happens in the blood vessel is, in the blood vessels there is abnormality due to many reasons. There is formation of microthrombi. Okay, so many small thrombi are formed in the body, all over the body. So these microthrombi, these contain coagulation factors, they contain fibrinogen. Because of such widespread thrombosis which is taking place in the body, there is decrease in the clotting factors, there is decrease in the platelets, there is increased fibrinolysis. So these are all leading to bleeding. So you have two things which is going simultaneously in a case of DIC: coagulation as well as bleeding. So if you see, so it is also known as consumption coagulopathy. So there is widespread activation of coagulation with formation of microthrombi in small blood vessels, and then there is bleeding diathesis due to depletion of the clotting factors. Now there are many reasons behind this. So if we take a reason like sepsis, sepsis is a known cause of DIC. So because of some cytokines, there is activation of coagulation. So if you remember coagulation, we had for coagulation intrinsic pathway, we had extrinsic pathway, and in extrinsic pathway you had factor 7 which used to activate factor 10A. Then you had fibrinogen which gets converted into fibrin. So this is all taking place. So this all will take place, there is widespread coagulation, this all will take place. Because this is taking place at such a rate, the all the clotting factors are being consumed. So if you remember a hemostatic plug, okay, a clot is formed by clotting factors, you have platelets, you have fibrin. So these all will get used up. When these all will get used up, so there will be bleeding diathesis. So if a patient has any injury, if a patient has any uh, venipuncture site, okay, you are puncturing the patient, so patient will have a bleeding problem also. So it is a type of, both type of lesion, coagulation, bleeding disorder. Now let's go, what is taking place over here is the, when you are fibrin is formed in the body, okay, so after the fibrin is being formed, then there is fibrinolysis which takes place. Fibrinolysis takes place with an enzyme known as plasmin. Okay, plasmin is responsible to cleave the fibrin into fibrin degradation products. That is a pathway, fibrinolysis, which takes place in the body whenever there is clot. Then the clot is being removed by the body by fibrinolytic pathway. Here fibrin clot with the help of plasmin is converts fibrin into fibrin degradation products. Okay, now in this case what happens, because such widespread thrombosis is taking place, so fibrin clot will be also increased. Okay, many clots are being formed. Then plasmin also gets activated, lots of fibrin degradation products will be there. So to diagnose a case of DIC, if we use FDPs, they are nothing but fibrin degradation products, and out of all the FDPs there is a product named as D-dimer. Okay, so this D-dimer is a marker to diagnose the DIC also. So now you have understood how D-dimer is produced in the body. So D-dimer is actually a fibrin degradation product only and is formed from the fibrin clot. Now, what are the causes behind DIC? Such a dreadful condition. What are the causes behind these? So, first is the sepsis. Okay, so a patient having sepsis, the patient is in septic shock. So, mostly septic shock is caused by gram-negative bacteria. Other like severe falciparum malaria, HIV, hepatitis. So, these can also cause a patient and land the patient into DIC. Then why this happens, this again we will study later on, but because of the endotoxins released by the bacteria, the lipopolysaccharides in the bacteria, the these all are procoagulant factors. They increase the coagulation of clotting pathway, so they are procoagulants. Then you have trauma, especially crush injury. This also releases fat, which is again a procoagulant. Then in DIC, we must remember many obstetric causes are there. So, a patient having a history of recent birth and landing up into DIC, so it is a known cause, obstetric causes. So, you have amniotic fluid embolism, abruptio placentae, septic abortion, eclampsia, and intrauterine retention of dead fetus. Now, this cause, intrauterine retention of dead fetus, is a cause of chronic DIC also. Okay, because the dead fetus is inside the person for a long amount of time, so this is a cause of chronic DIC. Then you have malignancies, few malignancies, certain solid carcinomas which have disseminated, a very important leukemia. Okay, you have AML M3, also known as acute promyelocytic leukemia. This is again a very important cause for DIC. In this, what happens is the cells, the promyelocytes, they are increased. There are promyelocytes, they are increased. So promyelocytes, they release a material similar to thromboplastin. So the thromboplastin is again a procoagulant and can cause DIC. Then after transfusion, after burns, you have lots and lots of material which is released into the blood, so they can also cause. Then snake bite also leads to DIC, liver disease, and one giant hemangioma can also cause DIC. Now, what is the reason behind each and every cause? We have to study the cause. So, in sepsis, what happens is, as I already told you, in sepsis, you have membrane components of the microorganism. You have lipopolysaccharides, you have endotoxins. These all will cause release of inflammatory cytokines and will lead to coagulation. Then in severe trauma, like if we have fracture femur, okay, so what will happen? Lots and lots of fat and phospholipids will be released from the damaged tissue, and this will again cause coagulation. Then you have obstetric causes from the placenta also. You have abruptio placenta, you have separation of the placenta. So these also leads to leakage of thromboplastin like material. Now this is again a procoagulant. In malignancy, especially in AML M3, there is again release of thromboplastin like material. In snake bite contains certain factors which mimic the body's clotting factors only. So they proteolytically activate the coagulation factors. So if you remember, we had factor, if we take example of factor 12, to factor 12 need to be proteolytically cleaved to form factor 12A. Similarly, 10 needs to be proteolytically activated to 10A. So few of the chemicals in the snake bite, they cleave the clotting factors and therefore start the coagulation cascade. So this was the reason behind the DIC. Now what are the clinical features of a patient? Now as you studied the causes, firstly the patient will have clinical features pertaining to that cause. Okay, so cause will be, primary disease will be present. Now how DIC will take place? You can have bleeding. Patient can have bleeding from venipuncture site. So if a patient is indoor, so you have intracatheters inserted, so bleeding from there can take place. Recent wounds can bleed. Then from any orifice, okay, GIT tract bleeding can be there, oropharynx, then urogenital, obstetric vaginal bleeding which cannot be controlled, these can also be there. And also because lots and lots of microthrombi are formed in the body, so these thrombi can block peripheral vessels like they can cause skin lesion, they can cause gangrene of the finger and toes, because they are blocking the peripheral vessels also. Now going to the types of DIC. Mostly when we are talking about DIC, we do talk about acute or decompensated DIC, in which there is rapid activation of coagulation. The patient suddenly worsens in sepsis. So there is rapid and extensive activation of coagulation which takes place, and then the patient will present with spontaneous bleeding from any orifice. Okay, in the GIT you have hematuria, you have vaginal bleeding, GI bleeding, so such a presentation will be there. Then intracranial hemorrhage can also take place. There can be purpura fulminans can also be present, that is hemorrhagic skin necrosis. Patient can have, so if you see over here, the patient can have a picture like this along with necrosis. This is known as purpura fulminans. So these are all the presentation of a patient of acute DIC. Then chronic DIC, this is very less common, or mostly occurs when there is reason behind the like you have intrauterine retention of dead fetus. So dead fetus is present in the body for a longer period of time. You have AML M3. Okay, so malignancy is there. So this is little bit mild disease, but it can worsen also. A chronic DIC can go into acute DIC anytime. So lab investigation. Now if you remember lab investigation, do take in picture that everything is deranged. Okay, so when we were studying, so there are few tests in the coagulation which test platelet function. Then you have few tests which check about your intrinsic pathway and common pathway. Then there are few tests which checks about extrinsic pathway and common pathway. So these are all tests present in the body which are done for the coagulation disorder. All will be deranged. You will have low platelet count because all the platelets are used up to form thrombi. Then PT, APTT both will be increased. Okay. Fibrinogen level will be low because fibrinogen is itself a clotting factor only. So clotting factor are being used. So it will be low, decreased. FTPs and D dimers, they are increased. As I already told you, the fibrin with the help of plasmin gets converted into fibrin degradation products. So if the fibrin is more, then FDPs will also be more. One feature is presence of schistocytes. So what are those? So if you have this blood vessels and you have thrombi present over here, so if the RBCs are passing, so they will get mechanically injured by the thrombus. So you have fragmented RBCs present in case of DIC. These are also known as schistocytes. These are seen in many hemolytic conditions like MAHA and DIC. Now the one test to do to confirm DIC is this black card test. Okay, so if there is presence of granules over here, that is you have D dimer is positive and patient is going into DIC. So we already discussed what is the pathogenesis behind the D dimer. That is the fibrin clot gets converted via the plasmin into the fibrin degradation products, and one of the fibrin degradation products is specific is D dimer, which is used to diagnose this condition. Lastly, let's understand the treatment. Treatment mainly relies on the management of the primary disease process. Then you try to support the patient. Okay, you try to correct the primary disease and then to support the patient. If the patient is into bleeding, then you give fresh frozen plasma, platelet concentrate, and you give supportive therapy, and the patient can be revived back. So this was all about DIC. We already covered primary hemostasis, secondary hemostasis, the normal hemostasis was covered, then bleeding disorders, ITP we already covered, then hemophilia is already covered. Now we are done with the DIC. So this is the end of the coagulation pathway diseases. So you can ask any queries in the comment box and do let me know which next topic you want me to cover. Thank you for watching this video.